good week. We are coming out of a quite exciting week. We had a lot of stuff happening. We had, as mentioned in the last Twitter space, this very eventful Wednesday, Fed meetings, CPI numbers. We had Ethereum Shapella. We had banking earning update on Friday. And as a whole, crypto has been up. Bitcoin touched the 31,000 over the last couple of days. Ethereum really started to rally and is now almost, not fully yet, but almost on the same kind of level as Bitcoin when it comes year to date. And Fabio and I are coming together here on Tuesday. It's 30 minutes earlier than normal today because we're having a meetup in the office actually afterwards, and I need to be on time for that. So Fabio and I are going to do this 30 minutes earlier, and we're going to discuss a bit, reflect a bit, and we're going to teaser a beautiful new rollout this week. So you're going to be the first ones to actually hear about this that we're launching here on Cake this week. And it's going to be a really, really exciting space. So with this, Fabio, how you doing? How's everything? How's the community? Give us a bit of the ins and outs.
Hey everybody, doing great. It's even though there's not a lot of super exciting news, it's a bit same old. Since January we have the crypto crackdown, and we saw a little bit more waves of the same hitting us this week or over the last few days. Sentiment it's actually pretty balanced. On broader Twitter, I would say people are really ambivalent, maybe 50-50, because we had the surprising rally. We are at, if you just look at different charts, like, I don't know, the US dollar, the NASDAQ, Bitcoin, they're all in either resistance or support range. So they kind of need to make a decision now. And that's really also kind of reflected in the community. Lots of people, they said, okay, this is probably going to be a local top, and others think, no, we're going to straight going 35, 40K. So the sentiment or the mood is definitely a bit split down the middle, I would say. But engagements are still fairly low. If you look at big influencers, like, for example, Benjamin Cohen is one that I like to look at. And his views are still down compared to last year. So the hype is not really back. But all in all, I would say the sentiment is rather constructive. Besides that, I would say, like if I open Twitter, everybody seems to hate Gary Gensler. That's
What do you? I mean, there's also a question. Jochen asked this question: thoughts on the SEC versus Bittrex. I mean, Gary Gensler came out. There was this really weird kind of thing also from him. Also, then with Algorand, and then it seems there is this old video about him actually shilling Algorand. I don't know. I didn't have so much time, and I only saw this pop up today, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" I don't know. I think you have a bit of the inside track here.
I forgot his name, the Algorand guy, Mario, I think. He's an Italian dude, and he was a professor at MIT, and Gary Gensler was as well. So they're like buddies, I would say. Both worked at MIT, and Gensler said he made some kind of real life example of what would be like a decentralized Uber, and then he mentioned Algorand and that it would be possible to build it there. And people like to bring up this video and then say, and 2 years later or something, I don't know how many years it was ago, and now they're practically suing, or the SEC is moving against Algorand. So it's kind of contradicting, a contradicting message. I don't really have a lot more insights than that.
Cool. Maybe then let's do a quick kind of deep dive on the last week. Let's leave out the Ethereum upgrades because I think that's a separate topic to discuss, but let's talk purely like macroeconomics. CPI numbers came out on Wednesday. They were expected like really on spot 5%. The interesting part about this is that obviously this is now very, very close on the interest rates. So that's going to be an interesting one when we talk about, I think, May 2nd or something, or May 3rd, when the next Fed meeting is happening, and we can discuss this on what's going to happen to the interest rates there. And then we had the meeting minutes on Wednesday as well. And here the Fed seems to, other than obviously discussing the banking crisis and so on, seems to be signaling that there may be a soft recession happening. So it seems that the Fed is shifting a bit from, oh, we're going to have this, it's going to be an easy soft landing, to, okay, mid and maybe a hard landing are in play a bit now. And then to kind of conclude the entire last week, we did have the banking earnings, and there was this this meme from all the banks where these bankers really sit there with a fat smile, because especially the large banks seem to be really cashing in big time on these earning reports from Q1. They have been printing money. They're really benefiting from basically all these downfalls of these small and local banks. So yeah, and I think that's quite interesting. And then maybe to kind of take a bit of the shift to today, we have housing reports today in the US. And I think personally, again, these reports aren't out yet, but I would be very skeptical that these reports are going to be constructive. I'm seeing like statistics on especially commercial real estate being completely empty in part of the US. People really, really struggling with the rents and so on. So this does not paint such a good picture. I don't know, Fabio, if you kind of have anything else on the macro numbers or on the macro kind of sentiment, because then I don't know, let's discuss on, is this banking crisis over? Is this continuing? What are we going to see maybe beginning of May with the Fed? But let's see, do you anything to add there, and then kind of tie this into the kind of next steps here?
Yes. So to make the discussion a little bit more vibrant, I'm going to take a pretty extreme position and just bring in a few arguments that I would consider very much doom and gloom. Because you usually you are more balanced and you're very knowledgeable what is happening. And I just like to bring up a few conspiracy things and a few very gloom and doom scenarios. And just maybe to take a step back. If you look at how the Fed or the institutional sector communicated in the 90s or in the 00s after the dot-com or in the great financial crisis, every single time we went into a recession, everybody was talking about a soft landing. Every time it is a soft landing, every time they aim for a soft landing. And usually there at least there is a lot of examples where it didn't play out as a soft landing. So everybody knows in the 90s or in the dot-com or great financial crisis, there were a lot of talks about this being a soft landing as well. So why do I feel this might not be a soft landing? So on the one hand, we have another Fed meeting coming up in May. And Julian and me, we discussed and we think alike there. They're probably going to halt or they're going to increase another 25 basis points. Probably. This is also what is reflected on the CME side. So the market is betting on one of these two outcomes. We have a slight favor of an increase, I think, currently. And I'm also fully aligned with that. And if you just go back at and look at other historic moments, usually when we go into inflationary periods, and I will make the argument that we haven't seen the last of inflation, they usually come and go in waves. So you have a first wave of inflation, then we go down and everything seems to deflate a little bit, which is the current moment we are in right now. And I will make the argument that inflation is going to come back even stronger. So why do I think that? Or why do I make the argument? So if you just look back at the last 60, 70 years, usually 1.5% to 2% of all companies go bust every single year. And this was true for like a 60-year period or longer. Now, if you just take the last 10 years, this is down by an order of magnitude, meaning only like 0.1 to 0.2% of companies were going bust over the last 10 years. So why is that? It's because of cheap credit, zombie companies. You know, if you have cheap credit available, you don't need to be a profitable company. You can just go get some cheap credit and just keep your operations going. And this is exactly what happened. So we have a lot of companies that kind of accumulated year over year are just floating out there on cheap credit. But as we all know, the Fed hiked rates and they're very high right now. Like if you just compare that, it's some pay 500% if you need to get a new credit right now. Previously, you had a credit in the vicinity of 1%. Now you're paying 5%. So there's like a 500% increase, maybe 400 for others, but a decent increase. And a lot of companies will not be able to handle those kind of interest payments. This is one thing, and the other thing is the banking crisis that we previously covered, where you have this that banks got overexposure into long-term treasuries. They're kind of locked in. They're illiquid because they're locked in for longer duration periods, and the Fed practically bailed them out with offering them a par on their investments, which their investments are like 70% on the dollar. They were down, but the Fed kind of covered that. So, and I would make the argument that the combination of these two, the big banks are not going to go bust. If there is an actual credit event or a liquidity event, the government is going to bail them out. And with the bailing out of all these zombie companies and all these banks and these missing assets, there will be the next wave of inflation. This would be my doom and gloom argument.
Okay, interesting timeline on that.
This year.
Sell in May. When in May, go away.
So,
but remember, be back when? In December, September, November?
So,
never?
Okay, you're putting me on the spot here. But
of course.
So last rate hike in May, they're going to hike 25%, and they're trying to hold as long as they possibly can. And I would make the argument they will not be able to hold very long. And after that, they're probably going to pivot in some kind of way. Not that they initially lower the interest rates because they want to keep the interest rates high, but they have many other tools, liquidity providing tools, where they can like bump up the economy as they did with the banking crisis right now. But usually from a pivot onwards, the market tanks for approximately 6 months. So, and if we would put the pivot or the hike, stopping the hikes in May, it's probably going to be an uncomfortable 6 months period. But I'm expecting a little bit of a blow up this year.
So what's your take for the May Fed meeting? What do you think is the Fed going to do? Do you think they're going to raise rates, lower rates, keep them stable? What do you think they're going to do to their bond portfolio? They're going to keep selling, or they're going to stop the selling? Maybe they're going to start buying bonds.
I think they are going to hike 25 basis points. And so with this setting illiquid bonds at par, it's basically somewhat of a yield curve control tool, with like yield curve control light, because they're raising a product that is market to market, selling at 70 cents, and they're putting it at $1. So they're practically switching a bond into a liquid cash thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, what they're actually doing is you can use something that trades at 70 cents, and you can get a loan for $1. That's what they're doing. Yeah.
100%. So I think they have many other tools at their disposal, and this is just one of the tools they are using right now. And if you want to really get out of debt, what is the best way to do? If I would be in a position to control the outcome, what do you need to do to come out of this? You need to cap rates and you need to have higher inflation, because you want to inflate the debt away. That's you have two options. Either you default or you restructure. This is outcome one, or you inflate. And usually, or historically, almost everybody chooses to inflate it away. So at one point, they're just going to cap the rates and let inflation run hot. Who's going to pay the price? Bondholders.
Interesting. Yeah, I actually don't think we're going to see a rate increase in May. So I'm a bit. Yeah, I think the Fed. Yeah, I think the market is wrong there. I know that the majority of market bets on a rate increase. I think we're gonna see. We're gonna see nothing. We're gonna see selling. We're gonna see a continuation of the selling of the bond portfolio, but I think we're gonna see no further rate increase. Let's see. Yeah, but what I agree with you is, I do think we're gonna see some sell-off in the markets in general. just because, there is some danger looming with everything. I mean, we see this. I mean, housing doesn't look good. Yeah, I do think we're not the worst. Like maybe the worst is over. That could be right, but I think we're definitely going to see some. It's going to get worse before it's going to get better, in my opinion.
But you're hopeful for the latter part of the year, maybe like Q3, Q4 ish.
No, I still think I am. I mean, I always was of that opinion that 2023 is nothing to write home about. To me, it's going to be a relatively flat year. So we're dramatically up on many assets. So I think a lot of these assets will go back to where they started, maybe have a little bit upside, right? That's just what I believe. I mean, if I look specifically at crypto, I still am of the opinion that pretty much the 80-90% reason on why crypto is up is just Binance having to get out of their treasury. And I mean, I've been of this opinion now for the last months. This was just because I don't understand. Longer. Yeah, for me, it's just, I'm a person that, like, if you give me some data that makes sense, right, and I can understand this data, and you have some evidence of something, I can so buy into an opinion. That's absolutely fine. To me, I just struggle understanding on what made the markets pump in Q1, right? And I understand if you're a Bitcoin maxi, you're telling me, oh, this is the banking stuff. If you're an Ethereum maxi, you're going to tell me, oh, this is the Shapella upgrade, right? If you are, I don't know, whatever maxi, right, you will always have your argument on why your coin is doing so well, right? I get it. Like, but this is not, like, there's no data for that, right? So for me, the data, like retail interest is not a historic low, but it's like super low. We're in the lower 25% of the retail data. There's whale addresses are going down. Institutional interest is definitely not there, right? So I don't understand where this massive buying is coming from. I don't understand. So like I see that small addresses are going up. Fine, I agree with that. That doesn't surprise me. I think there's a lot of people who have funds on their exchanges and they all draw them out of the exchanges, right? I get that, but this is not like the billions of dollars that are driving these massive pumps, right? So I sit there and I'm like, okay, what's the only thing that sticks out? And for me, this BUSD selling is just so correlated. It's insane. Like you can actually just look over the last 7 days. Look when BUSD started selling off. It's the exact moment when Bitcoin goes up. As soon as the BUSD selling stops, Bitcoin goes flatline and starts dropping slightly. From yesterday until today, I have a trigger. Like I set up a trigger of 50 million because otherwise I had too much error. So I have a 50 million trigger on BUSD. So if the market cap drops more than 50 million, I get a trigger. And I have to set this a bit finer now because from yesterday until today, it dropped by 20 million. And look what happens today. Instantly, after the market being flatlining, the BUSD drops by 20 million. Now the market is up again. And it's like, it's so crazy to see the timing of those, right? So yeah, whoever is selling those BUSD, and again, I have no evidence it's Binance. I'm just assuming. So I want to say this is a pure assumption. I have no evidence for that. So whoever is, and I don't also want to say there's nothing wrong with Binance selling their BUSD. Actually, it makes sense because they have to get out of BUSD. So there's nothing wrong with that, right? Binance is not manipulating the market. They're not doing a pump and dump. Like, at least I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I see these messages where people say, oh, this is Binance selling fake BUSD. I don't believe that. I just think they're selling their BUSD, right? Or whoever this is. And so that is my entire theory. And the question is just at what point is this BUSD selling actually stopping because there's not much left? I don't know. Because it doesn't have to be at zero because there will be some BUSD that are either lost forever or they are, I don't know, they're just held by institutions or by retail and they're not selling them or whatever. So yeah, I don't know when this is going to stop. And then the question is whoever bought all those Bitcoins with the BUSD, what is this group, person, company or whatever doing with those Bitcoins? My assumption is that they're going to go into true USD. And that's probably the stuff that I would be looking for. If that market cap starts going up, that's when I would get really, really scared. So that's why it's very difficult for me to make predictions on the crypto price at the moment. Because, I mean, if you look at the data, right? Like I will do this today at the meetup. I'll go through everything that happened in Q1. And then I'll ask you, what's your expectation on what the price would do, if I would tell you in January, this is what's going to happen in Q1, tell me what you think the price is going to do. And everyone would tell me, the price probably went down. And then I'm telling you, no, the price went up 70, 80%. You sit there and you're like, this is so strange. And so that's just my big worry. And so and for Q2, that's why I'm just so careful in saying the prices may go down, because there may be still so much buying pressure for actually the reason why Bitcoin was made. That's actually interesting. It's actually the use case for what Bitcoin was made for. And that is actually what Bitcoin Maxi should really celebrate. I really think they should, because that actually is the use case, right? The use case for Bitcoin is to have an asset that's independent of banks. And it's exactly that highlight. It's exactly that use case. Whoever is going from BUSD into something goes into Bitcoin to be independent of the banks. I think it's a great use case.
100%. For me, two main factors when it comes to buying or where is this coming from. And if you just want to look at data, there is only two things that stick out. One is the BUSD situation, which you elaborated on, and it's also kind of true for stablecoins in general. Most buying happened through stablecoins, and the other thing is price agnostic buyers, meaning MicroStrategy, meaning the plebs. So you also already mentioned that small addresses are at an all-time high,
sure.
And just people DCAing and a lot of addresses that are in the game since a few years. So people that are just continue building their positions, but it's not new people. It's not that there is an influx of new investors coming into the space. It's mainly people that have been around for a while that are just dollar cost averaging their way through. Yeah.
Gabriel asks a question here. If the Bitcoin price pumps to 40,000, are you turning bullish? You said $40,000 are solving a lot of problems. I mean, bullish on what? Like, if you're asking me on the short term, it's very difficult for me to be anything short term right now, because I am walking into a room and I know that a very small group of people are causing the market to move. And I have no clue, because this room is super dark. I don't know what this group of people is doing. I don't know what their intentions are, how long they're going to do this. So for me, it's absolutely impossible to make any predictions right now, because fundamentals don't matter right now. And it's just very difficult. I mean, the market could turn on a dime if whoever buys all these Bitcoins is going into true USD. Maybe my assumptions are entirely wrong. I want to be also clear. And it's actually totally organic, and people don't even want to go out of Bitcoin anymore, right? So the data is so interesting. Just look at the Binance treasury. It went up by the exact amount of Bitcoins that is the market cap of BUSD in that same kind of timeline. This gets tracked and traced left and right? So I don't know. At what point is Binance changing their mind? Are they changing their mind? I don't know. So to me, this is a completely different pump than having an organic pump by a lot of people. That doesn't mean it's a pump and dump. I really don't want to say this. It's just that doesn't change the fundamentals. And so, yeah, unless someone can prove why I'm wrong, I'm not going to change my mind. And I'm not going to turn bullish that I think, we're going to see a new all-time high. Because for me, the facts haven't changed. It's just that I had an unknown factor that for me at least, had no clue about predicting that at the beginning of the year. And it's also because there are so many unknown factors right now, I would be very careful in making these really aggressive bets. If you're asking me, was I right with my prediction from the year until today, then I'm clearly no, I was definitely not right. But here's the thing, I also wasn't wrong, because I'm long crypto. So it's not that I'm sitting here and I'm shorting crypto. I have no crypto. Dude, I have a crypto company. We have, of course, the majority of our treasury in our crypto company is fiat, but we have a massive crypto treasury. I have a personal exposure to crypto, right? So I was not right. I completely give that to you, because for me to be right, I would have had to be leveraged long crypto. I'm not. But if you're asking me if I'm wrong, then I'm also saying no, because my portfolio is up year to date, right? Our company is doing well, my personal portfolio is up. So how can I be wrong if my portfolio is up? And the only thing I'm giving you is that I'm not right. And so for me going forward, it's going to be the same approach, right? I know exactly that right now I don't have a lot of knowledge what could be the next move. And so I'm really, really cautious about this. And I think that's always a key approach. And I think there's people in the markets right now who just have their own version of a story. And they're like, oh, I know exactly what's going on. And that story is going to continue. And I'm going to double, triple down. And suddenly they're going to be caught on the wrong foot. And it's going to turn around. So yeah, I think that's something I just feel is key to understand here. Reflection on Shapella. I think we both had a bit of a different assumption of what the price could be doing over the last week. The Ethereum price outperformed Bitcoin by 10%, which is completely unexpected in comparison to before. That pump is actually the reason why now Ethereum is almost at that level of what Bitcoin has performed year to date. So absolutely incredible to kind of see that performance. How would you explain that? Our assumptions were very different. We had actually expected a little bit of an underperformance of Ethereum versus Bitcoin, not a crash, but definitely not a 10% pump. At least I didn't expect that. I'm happy about it. I'm long Ethereum, so for me, it's, pumped another 20%. I'm fine with that. It's just, why do you think we didn't expect that?
So yeah, I was completely wrong, especially in the timeline. Like I still think there might be some unloading for us to come, but I would never have foreseen that Ethereum did a 10% pump. I guess it has to do with trust. People, it was a successful hard fork. A lot of people have been anticipating it, and in general, especially from outsiders, this actually increases the trust a lot, because you can stake, you can unstake, everything works. They delivered what they promised, so the trust increases. Of course, there is a supply that is locked up, but here you kind of need to take it with a grain of salt. I think like 80% or so, or even more of the selling was done by two entities, which is Binance and Kraken. And the rest, we couldn't really see any selling, or not anything worth mentioning.
Minor amounts, yeah. And we have to say, we don't even know if this was actually sold. It's more that it's being unstaked. It's always also important. Yeah. Price is not being made by staking and unstaking. It's being defined by selling and buying, right? So yeah, that's a key thing. And we don't see if those ETH actually are being sold, if they're just being unstaked, especially with Kraken, in order to follow the law.
For me, this is just a confirmation of something I think I hold very dear, is don't trade these events. You know, like we have seen this with the merge. Everybody was bulling on the merge and we dumped. Everybody was bearish on Shapella and we pumped. And like next time you're gonna think, oh, now I have figured this one out. It's just the opposite of what everybody thinks. But trust me, everybody's gonna think the same, and you're gonna be wrong again. So like what it comes down to for me is just don't trade these events. Like make your bets ahead of time, make them long term, and don't trade these short-term events. Yeah, that's a little bit my takeaway from everything.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that we could still see a little bit of this selling happening, but yeah, for me also very positively surprised. Yeah, and obviously to the entire Ethereum community, congratulations. I think something like that is big move. And it's going to be interesting now to kind of see a bit on with Cancun that should happen end of Q3, Q4. The next thing, which is going to be mainly focused on scaling, roll-ups, so different focus. Quite interesting to kind of see that. Yeah, this is maturity for me on the markets at the moment. Anything you have else, Fabio? Otherwise, let's talk about product release this week. Let's kind of reveal it a bit, but I want to see if you had anything still that you wanted to mention or talk about.
The only thing we didn't really touch on is the other wave of regulation that we saw, but I think we did a good job on covering. So, for example, the legislation or the move against Bittrex, or just Gary Gensler doubling down. I think he has a hearing today in about 4 hours or so.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
there is even a live stream to that hearing. I think it's in about 4 hours, and he needs to
I would
answer.
love to see that chat. I would love to see a chat there like that. That would be better than the troll box from back in the Poloniex days, which was like also, I mean, this was the troll box. It was insane. I would love to see that troll box there.
Like, if you want to go to the worst place on Twitter, like just from the amount of toxicity and memes, go into the comment section of the SEC or the Gary Gensler tweets. When he tweets something and you go into that comment section, oh my God, it is crazy. Like, people have so much anger and frustration, and they're all just dropping it on him there. Like, he's probably the most hated man in crypto right now, especially in the US. You know, everybody else is like, okay, it's just the US. What do I care? But people in the US, they really hate Gary Gensler at the moment. And I can understand why.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fair question, and I saw this, I think Scott Melker, Wolf of Wall Street, posted that. He said, Gary, so far you haven't protected me from a single scam. You have only been protecting me from the legit companies. And I thought this tweet was actually probably the most accurate tweet about the SEC. If I look at, let's say, the last 6 to 9 months, right? To me, like, for example, I think protecting someone from Terra Luna is ridiculous, because that thing is like, I mean, how should that protection have looked like, right? I mean, this is a protocol. From everything that we have seen, it was very difficult to kind of protect anything there. So I kind of leave this aside. I think people should have just had more common sense with that. But then FTX, right? I want to be honest. Until a few days before, I would have seen no issue with this with FTX, right? But where was ever a Wells notice or something for FTX? Where, right? Who gets the Wells notices? Coinbase, Kraken. I mean, honestly, if you'd ask me who are the most trusted exchanges out there, Coinbase and Kraken, they are the top of the list, right? So if I was an American, I'd be really going to Gary Gensler and say, hey, thanks so much for trying to protect me from the 2 most trusted exchanges in the US and making me lose money on BlockFi, complete black box, Celsius, complete black box, FTX, complete black box. Thank you so much, right? And I think that's really crazy as an American. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Product launch. Yes. We have exciting, so there's going to be a product launch today. If everything goes smoothly, you should be seeing a new product today. And then later this week, you're going to see more of the same. And we are doing this in order to offer something really interesting for our customers, however, also to really help the DeFi chain community. What are we doing? The first thing is we're going to be offering a DUSD yield vault. So that means if you have DUSD, you're going to be able to get some serious yield on those DUSD. The way we're going to do it is we're going to have to move the DFI that people have put into the other yield vaults. We're going to prioritize that onto the DUSD yield vault so that DUSD yield vault gets the majority of the returns. So that thing should have the major returns. On the other hand, so that's going to launch today if everything goes smoothly. And then later in the week, we're going to be offering vaults for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins that are that only go to DUSD, and these also going to be prioritized with the DFI that customers have added. So there, you don't lose the 30% DEX fee, plus you're going to be prioritized on the returns. So what this actually is going to allow you to do, it's going to really get you serious returns on DUSD, and it's going to get you serious returns on Bitcoin and Ethereum for stopping at DUSD. If you want to sell yourself, you can sell these DUSD yourself, or you can also just add them into the DUSD vault, thereby compounding the interest. This is going to allow our customers to get probably 3 times the return on their Bitcoin, 3 times the return on stablecoins, 3 times the returns on Ethereum. On top of it, it's going to allow everyone to get returns on DUSD and DFI in those vaults. And I think the returns on DFI in these vaults are going to be higher than the staking returns. Plus the DUSD returns should also be extremely high. So this should be very interesting for customers, especially for DUSD and DFI. These are going to be the two assets that are going to benefit the most. And hopefully with that, we're going to help the entire DeFi chain community as well to help raise those prices. So I think that's going to be really, really exciting. For those that say, no, I want to stay in the existing services, you can. That's all good. We're not taking those away. So that's all fine. So it should only be a win. And no real other issues there. Anything that I need to add here, Fabio? Anything that you see in the community? Questions, things you want to add there?
You summed it up perfectly. The only thing I would add is let me quantify this, and please don't take me by my exact word. These are rough estimations, but Julian already said 3 times as much. So right now in a yield vault on Bitcoin, you get 5%. If you're not getting any yield on your Bitcoin, this is a complete no-brainer because it's a complete decentralized product. But with the changes that we are making, there is 2 different ways, and I'm just going to quantify these. So if you have the USD, maybe you already have them on Cake, maybe you want to get some, you can get a negative interest rate of, yesterday it was 32%, meaning you will get an effective yield of 27% API on Cake with that product, which is kind of insane. And with the changes that we are making to Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, and USDT, these yield vault products, you will get, instead of 5%, you can get up to 15%. So what Julian said, 3 times as much. I just wanted to quantify these, so for everybody that doesn't know what products we're speaking about and how high these yields are, so that you have a little bit of a better idea. That's the only thing I would add.
Thanks for clarifying.
I think the DUSD yield vault is going to go live in a few hours, as far as I know.
Yeah, and it's the one. So the limiting resource is going to be DFI for this, right? So we're going to allocate all the DFI that the customers put into the yield vaults. We're going to focus mainly on the DUSD vault. So this one is going to be the one that's prioritized. And then the other ones that's going to be prioritized is those vaults that stop at DUSD. So those should have the highest returns, because if we do that, that's going to help the DeFi chain community the most. And so that's how we really want to help the community. Also, I posted this on Twitter. We haven't made a final decision on what we're going to do there yet. We haven't sold any meaningful amounts of our profit from Q1. So we have kept this. We are long DFI. We asked the community on what should we do with those DFI. Should we stake them? Should we freeze them? Should we buy DUSD with them? We haven't made a final decision yet. Maybe we're just going to leave it as it is. I just want to have a bit of some input there. But yeah, I think definitely I want to be very clear. Like, I understand DUSD is not at $1. I get it. I know that DFI, just like all the other altcoins, didn't do as well as Bitcoin in Q1. But actually, if you compare to the other altcoins, it did really, really well. We believe in this long term. The DeFi Chain Foundation has updated the website. I think it's a fantastic new website. I saw it. I love it. MetaChain DevNet is going live. The testnet is going live in Q2. If everything goes well with that, the mainnet should be going live. We are big believers in that project. So, of course, we want to help the community, but I also want to be clear on something. We're a business. We're not going to make charity decisions, right? So I'm not going to allocate funds in a sense to be a charity. We're not a charity. We're a business, right? So we're making these decisions profit-based. So I believe in DFI on a personal standpoint, but also as a CEO, and DUSD, because we believe in these prices going up on the long term. So obviously, none of that is financial advice. Our company treasury is in Bitcoin, is in Ethereum. We have DFI allocation here now as well. We have that 30 million DUSD allocation. We completely are transparent and public about that. So we believe in all this long term. I know that people always focus on the short term. They look at these daily price swings and so on. This is not us. For us, we're building this over years, right? So, I mean, I've been in this space for so incredibly long. So, yeah, I just hope that you get a little bit of that spirit for yourself as well, and stop looking at these daily price swings and just see this entire thing a bit long term. So DUSD Vault, if everything goes smoothly, should be ready today, Singapore evening hours. So we're definitely going to make tweets and so on. Here, you're the first person to hear this. I think the social media team is going to kill me because I think this was not planned. We're going to talk about in detail about this. We have this really strict content calendar. So listen to this, right? So we have this really structured content calendar and everything is in there. When does it get announced and so on? And then Julian comes and just kind of messes all this up. I don't know. Yeah, great. And then, so DUSD Vault and then the other vaults are going to go live later this week. Again, it may get delayed if we find technical issues. We already found a display bug. So there's actually a display bug with these vaults. So we found it already. So we have to make sure that this gets cleaned up so that the proper displays are there. So if everything goes smooth, DUSD Vault live today. Otherwise, it's going to go live tomorrow. And then the other vaults are going to go live a bit later in the week. If we really find any major issues, it's going to happen next week. But we don't think so because testing and everything is along the way. So very exclusive content. Please do me a favor so I don't get slaughtered here by the content and social media team. Don't share this outside. Keep this secret for now. No sharing. So it's going to be just in our little group here. And then be acting super surprised when they post this on Twitter. And they're like, wow, thanks for letting me know. And don't tell them that I shared this here. Because they are not going to be all too happy about it otherwise. That they have all their structure and then I come and just do a Twitter space that was not even scheduled for that content piece. So just act surprised. Do me a favor. Be like, wow, thanks so much. You're the first person to tell me about this. That's going to make my life easier. Great. Fabio, anything else other than that?
No, we also, slightly before we started the call, Julian and me, we kind of made an agreement that we're going to finish this one a little bit early. But just so you know why, there's actually an event happening in, I think, a half an hour or 15 minutes. A local.
Where people are going to come here in like 15 minutes. So they're going to come in. I want to talk to them a bit, mingle, exchange. We're expecting quite a good crowd. And I think we're going to go live at around 7, 7:15. Depends a little bit on how fast we're going to fill everything, how fast people are in. We have dinner provided, so it depends a bit. People probably have to be a little bit flexible. I don't know. Go head over to, chess, watch the Chess World Championship, watch 20 minutes, see when we go live, then switch to ours and watch our stuff. And then you can switch back over to the Chess World Championship.
So I think the go live is approximately in 45 minutes. We scheduled a live stream. These are really cool events. I think we had 2 or 3 of them last year. And this is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, the first one this year. And these events are like 2 parts. So one part networking and dinner is what Julian just mentioned. And the other part is a presentation. So you will probably see Julian or u-zyn or even both on stage presenting on current industry trends, topics, things that are going on in the company. So definitely make sure to tune into that event. We're going to be sharing the link on all socials, and you can find it, of course, on our YouTube channel. I think it's already scheduled.
It is already scheduled. Yep. Yeah. Just be a bit flexible. I mean, it's a live event, so maybe a few minutes up or down. Last but not least, 420. Do you think Elon is gonna get his rocket launch going on 420 after he had to, because of a frozen little thing yesterday, had to delay for 420?
It's actually a
prediction on that.
So many things are coming together on 420. Legacy Twitter blue check marks are going to be retired. I think he has one other thing that I can't quite remember right now, and the rocket launch. So, and of course, I think it's going to go down. I'm kind of sad that it didn't yesterday. But yeah, I'm hopeful. So I would say let's go Starship to the moon or to Mars. Or just testing this time. But I'm hopeful.
Cool. Yeah, appreciate it. Well, everyone, if you're not a customer yet with us, what are you waiting for? Head over to cakedefi.com, sign up. Let us pay you cash flow on your crypto. Take control of your financial destiny with us. It's been an amazing update. Thanks so much, Fabio. Very much appreciated. If you're not doing so already, follow us on the channels, obviously on Twitter, on YouTube. Click to subscribe, the bell icon on the podcast. And if you want to help us out, leave us a review on the podcast, a positive, nice comment on YouTube, share the video. This is definitely going to help. And then with that, see you next week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks so much, Fabio. All the best, and cheers, and bye-bye.